Hey everybody, welcome back to Flow with Solaris. I'm Melanie, and today I'm excited to introduce you to Greg Gillum. Greg is a physical therapist with over 10 years of clinical experience and a fellowship in functional biomechanics, and he's on a mission to change the way that we think about health. So instead of waiting until something breaks to fix it, Greg believes in getting ahead of the problem. And that's exactly why he created PreHab Solutions. So, Greg, thank you so much for being here. You've said that after 10 years as a PT, you keep meeting people and wishing you'd gotten to them sooner, 6 months, 2 years, or even 10 years earlier. So can you tell me what does that actually look like when someone comes to you too late versus catching things early?
Yeah. Melanie, thanks for having me. I appreciate you giving me time on here. Yeah, I get to see people kind of all over the time spectrum, the life spectrum. I kind of joke around a little bit that my job gives me a chance to look into a time machine of sorts and
Mhm.
kind of see what's coming down the road, and getting ideas of what seems as though people are doing well as they're aging, versus maybe some patterns as to things that are not going in the right direction as people are aging. So thinking about when I see, let's say, an older patient in their early 70s, um, taking an idea of what their mobility is like, what their balance is like, if I'm seeing them for either a chronic condition or maybe a new condition after having a surgery, and then kind of taking those things into account about regarding how we approach their treatment. So kind of a more recent example, working with someone in their early 60s, they were concerned that their condition that they've been experiencing for several years would not be fixable. But through kind of some of our assessment tools and taking them through some different directions of motion, you start to realize, oh, this person has mobility, they're just not using it well. And so I think of that example as someone who we can work on helping kind of re-stabilizing the system, retraining what normal is, and then we can work on strengthening and incorporating that into daily function. Other times where it's harder are those folks that you go to try and take them through a movement assessment and they're more stiff and rigid, and you got to figure out, okay, how do we lubricate these joints and get them moving better? And those sorts of cases are a little bit harder. You can still see improvement, but those are some people that you wish that you kind of got to a little bit earlier. Before they kind of started to stiffen up and their connective tissue started to shorten or their joints start to become a little bit more arthritic. So yeah, a couple ends of the spectrum in that regard.
Yeah, I love that. Just getting the word out when you can, as soon as possible, so you have enough
Yeah.
time um, to prevent that. So I guess that leads me into the next question. What is prehab in your words? And why do you think most people don't even think about their body until something's already like painful or broken?
Yeah, my intention with Prehab Solutions is trying to become more aware of how can we be more proactive with our health and wellness and raising awareness of building our health savings accounts and thinking of this idea of can I do work and awareness now so hopefully later on in life I can cash in on more productive and high quality years of function and safety. Um, and so trying to help educate people on things that we can be thinking about at different stages of life. Um, and I think that these are things that aren't just about educating younger folks, which is part of what I try to do, younger athletes, kids that I work with that are high school, college age, and spreading the importance of regular strength training, and cardiovascular exercise. But then also too working with people who may be in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, even people up into their 80s and 90s, and kind of reinforcing the idea of that there's somewhere that we can improve on, and trying to instill kind of that confidence and that motivation to say, okay, I may not be able to do something that I could 10 years ago, but I can work on something now to get better. So I can go on walks with my significant other. I can play with my grandkids. I can get my body ready for the knee replacement that I have next month. Hopefully, I can prevent a fall from happening and serious injury taking place. And so, trying to get people to be a little bit more proactive in that regard um, sometimes is difficult, I think, especially when you don't see an immediate problem coming at you. Um, it's it's easy to kind of push those ideas off to the side. But I think nonetheless, if we can try to kind of reframe our mindset a little bit and think about, like myself, for example, thinking about my mom at this stage of life, thinking about where my grandparents were their last couple years of life, um, knowing what I know now, there's definitely things that we could have been doing for like my grandparents, for example, to help reinforce better balance and maybe safety awareness with them. And so, again, trying to get public outreach for those sorts of things and help educate people.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love it that you're on camera today. I mean, it's important to get the word out. There's so much we can do. So you did a year-long fellowship in functional biomechanics. And now how did that training change the way you look at the body compared to the traditional PT?
Yeah, for sure. So I got my fellowship through the Gray Institute Fellowship in Applied Functional Science. Those folks over there are fantastic. I started working for a clinic that had a couple therapists that had been trained through them before. Um, Working with them right out of the gate, you could tell they knew something different. And the way that they talked to patients, the way that they would have patients move, taking a step back and watching, it's kind of like, okay, I see where that makes sense, but I don't understand the fundamentals. And so, going through this year-long fellowship program and, traveling back and forth, working with these people online and in person, you really gain an understanding of like, how is the body supposed to move when you're upright against gravity, carrying load? Um, what are the different reactions that are supposed to be taking place between joints, tissues, and then depending on the activities that people are wanting to get better at, how can you adapt the environment to help improve and progress towards those goals? Um, Coming out of physical therapy school, looking back on it, um, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm kind of surprised that as many of my patients were getting better because my idea of what was going on was so rudimentary and what you learned from textbooks. But then when you start to understand what's going on when our foot hits the ground and our hips and our spine start to move together, when you have someone who is wanting to get back into dance or running or gymnastics, being able to break down those different movement pieces and say, I see here where you're going into like a back handspring and your spine's getting compressed. Here's some areas that may not be moving as well and why that spine is moving too much. And
Mhm.
so gaining a better understanding of how to break movements down, understand what should be normal, but then understanding and seeing like what is dysfunctional and then trying to improve upon that. So whether it's dealing with local, acute, or new injuries and being able to rehab that tissue appropriately and also learn how to take stresses off of that tissue to allow it to heal appropriately, or with like some of the more chronic patients that I referenced before, who just kind of have these chronic friction points, either in their spine or their shoulders or whatever, and having an understanding of how can we take stress away from that area, let it properly heal the way that it's supposed to, and then gradually kind of recondition it for the activities that you want to be doing. And I can't be appreciative enough of the Gray Institute and the folks that I worked with there and some of the folks that I've worked with that have come out of that program, that have taught me other things along the way. It's jump started, or not jump started, it has advanced my career a lot and has shaped the way that I practice as a clinician now.
Wow, what a blessing that you found
Yeah.
that. So you talk about sleep and stress management and nutrition, all of that being connected. So how do you help people see that bigger picture beyond just the injury that brought them in?
Yeah. It's the way that I practice, at least in the clinic, those aren't usually things that I lead with right away.
Yeah.
Because they're there to see me for their injury. But usually talking through people and making sure that you take time to listen to people, they'll kind of start to open up about different things that are going on in their life, stressors, lifestyle habits. And so then I kind of start to take those opportunities to kind of start to dabble in those topics.
Hmm.
I'm no nutritionist by any means, but the idea of consuming real food, trying to consume things that are minimally processed, keep our eating windows within normal daylight hours, kind of some of those things that seem pretty straightforward, but sometimes talking to people, they haven't thought about it. Um, and so I try to start kind of dabbling into those topics and sleep being so important. A lot of us are not getting enough sleep or taking it as seriously as we should. And so making sure people are aware of what are things that we can do to reinforce better sleep habits, things that we can be doing during the day to get better prepared for that. How that then plays into stress management. And if we're more fatigued, we're probably going to be more irritable and stressed.
Yeah.
That then leading into probably more poor food choices and not wanting to take time to prepare good meals or consume more nutritious food, but rather grab things that are simpler and just easier to handle. And then you then start to compound that effect into, well, these things aren't going well. I don't feel great. So now I'm not going to go out and move today. And
Mm.
all those things kind of mesh together. They're individual topics, but yet they have to weave together if we really want to kind of optimize our time and our day. And so trying to hopefully reassure people um, that it seems daunting if we think about all these topics at one time. But if we take our time and kind of go piece by piece, we can kind of start to layer those together, I think, reasonably well without being too overwhelming and kind of starting with a couple core principles, usually sleep and kind of how do we get our day going, practice success there, and then we start to kind of start gradually reintroducing other things that promote successful patterns.
Wow. So I can see your superpowers. You can see how the body is interconnected, but then you also see how so many other aspects of life are interconnected. And like even while you're speaking, I'm like, okay, so how do people hone in on that thing that might be out of balance? And I keep just coming back to like, well, when you're present, it's usually revealed to you. And it seems like you have this way of being that people, I hope, will open up to you and they can start to be present and like see the pieces in their lives that might be out of balance and find wholeness ultimately in the body, but in the lifestyle and everything as it all relates together.
Yeah, I think that you just, yeah, summed it up really, really well.
Yeah.
Um, Being able to step away from kind of this magnetized view of my back hurts, but yet step back and say, okay, what are all these things that fall underneath the umbrella? And are there little pieces of good that I can kind of pull from different parts of this tree or out from underneath this umbrella that I can contribute to the greater good of getting better? Um, and again, all of them at one time seems like a lot, but if you can choose a couple, then usually that leads into a couple more, and that snowball just takes effect and grows.
I love that. Yeah, you don't hear people talking about all these different interconnected things very often, and it's not serving people. So I love that you do that. So you're building PreHab Solutions on the side while working full time as a PT. So what's that journey been like, and what's your vision for what you're creating and where it's headed?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, working right now, kind of building things in my off time, I guess. as far as video content, free to low cost educational tools. Been more recently trying to collaborate with other folks as far as helping them build their exercise library and educational content. So trying to collaborate with other professionals out there, in hopes of, I think priority number one is education, raising awareness of how can we kind of take back control of how we're feeling, and realizing that it's okay to sometimes step back from what's going on in life to take care of ourselves and realize that that's not a bad thing, but yet it's something that's necessary to then be a more productive person to those we love and the people around us that we serve. Um, so kind of raising that awareness. My hope moving forward, um, it's kind of all over the place. Like I have like this big picture idea of what it could be, but to kind of funnel it down into a couple funnels, um, over the coming months and hopefully during this year, building an online application where younger athletes can either come for a functional movement assessment and see how they're running, jumping, and what their functional biomechanics look like there to hopefully minimize risk of injury with whatever their sport is. And then educational content, video-based education online for them based on what their sport is and ways of being proactive with their durability, strength, and athletic health. Um, Building educational content for, the weekend warriors that like to go hiking or training for a race or something like that, up to have courses already, but probably expand on what can we be doing before a knee replacement, a hip replacement, balance and stability. So someone who is already unsure of like, well, I kind of feel unsteady on my feet. Well, here's something that we can be doing safely in our home with a walker, with a countertop, with the back of a chair, stability wise to help improve our balance and coordination. Um, from here moving forward, again, looking at probably more consulting work, meeting with other professionals who need help with either broadening their brand or expanding their exercise library, consulting in regards to how to maybe advance their training programs that they're offering. Um, and then with the long-term goal of building a building a brand and an idea that is more than just um, one thing. Like it's truly like I think a broad spectrum thought of, again, how can we be more proactive with our health and wellness? And that means, I think, so many different things depending on where you are in life and what you're doing. Um, and helping people realize that no matter what position in life that you're in right now, there's things that we can be doing to help improve how we feel and how we function and hopefully our overall happiness.
Yeah, there's hope for everybody. I love that.
Mhm.
If somebody's listening to this right now and they've been ignoring those little aches and pains and they're just powering through it, what would you want them to know?
Um, that's a good question.
A lot of people in that category.
Yeah. I think making sure to try and take initiative for yourself now and listen to those things.
Mm.
Because whether it's like me living my own examples or working with other people and them kind of telling me about their stories, is that, I mean, those little friction points can start to escalate and grow on you. And it may not be just the shoulder, for example, that you feel friction now, but then that then starts to carry over to the neck later on.
Mhm.
Or because of shoulder posture and avoidance, that may start to impact your hips and how you shift your weight when you stand or walk. Um, and so listening to those things now, sooner the better, because every day we're all getting older. And so your body is going to be in the best position now to help take care of those things. And whether that's aches and pains or it's regarding your overall health with nutrition and sleep, getting regular physical movement and activities, stress management. the best day to start addressing those things is today. And so then hopefully a couple days from now, you notice improvement. A couple weeks from now, you notice more improvement. But if you don't act on it, we can't expect it to change.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, and to me, it all goes back again to presence. Like, what are you feeling? Maybe turn off the distraction, turn off the TV, quit being so busy, take a moment, do an assessment, and take action. Do something about it instead
Yeah.
of putting it off. All right, well, where can people find you and learn more about PreHab Solutions?
So my website, prehabsolutions.podia.com. I have my Instagram page, Greg Gillum PT on Instagram. Those are probably the two main ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Greg, for sharing your story with us today. If you want to stop being reactive with your health and start getting ahead of the problem, go ahead and check out Greg's work at PreHab Solutions. I'll have his link here in the description below and on the video, of course. And if you're a wellness practitioner and you are tired of tech chaos and you want to get more visible, stay booked, check out the link flowwithsolaris.com and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you.